Want to talk more now about the jobs picture in this country with Beth Ann Bovino. She is U.S. Chief Economist at S&P Global. And Beth Ann, always good to see you. Welcome to the show again. I was reading your notes, and you are very big on infrastructure as a way out of this jobs recession. You say we had a great opportunity after the Great Recession of 08, 09. We didn't take advantage of it. Why is now the right time to do this?
Well, think about it. We have record low interest rates. We have very cheap material prices and an unemployment rate, which is at, again, another record low. It seems the perfect time to be able to take advantage of this. And also keep in mind, infrastructure has been lagging for some time in terms of spending. That also means that we're failing in many places. We had done an analysis where we would see that if we invested about $2 trillion in infrastructure spending over a 10-year period, that would add another $5.7 trillion to the economy and create 2.3 million jobs in just 4 years.
Beth Ann, where are we failing, and how would you allocate that $2.1 trillion in spending?
Well, there's so many places it could go. The roads are certainly in disrepair. You look at the Society of American Civil Engineers has the U.S. infrastructure graded at a D+ for the last 7 years. The World Economic Forum has really scaled down the quality, or given the quality of U.S. infrastructure has dipping lower and lower and lower. And one perfect example is look what happened with public health infrastructure. We weren't able to meet the demand that was required during the pandemic, and so a lot could be done there as well.
What do you make of the market activity, Beth Ann, recently, given the economic backdrop? I mean, have investors really embraced this possibility that the recovery may be a very, very long road back, and have valuations sort of met that mindset?
Well, I think markets are very forward-looking, so they've priced in the huge recession in the first half of the year. We have this recession down about 12% cumulatively, which is 3 times greater than what we saw in the Great Recession. I think markets have pretty much wrote it off. But the question is what the recovery will look like. We're not expecting the U.S. to return to pre-crisis levels for at least for 2 years. Markets seem to be a little bit more optimistic than we are, and I'd say probably other economists as well.
Do you think, though, we should be a little optimistic given the fact that, yes, 2.4 million Americans filed for first-time unemployment claims? That is still a historically high level, but it's off the highs we saw in mid-March. It seems as though we've hit a peak with those weekly unemployment numbers. Should we be reading anything into that?
I do think that's something to keep an eye on. The good news is the levels, the number of people who are basically going to the unemployment center, figuratively, is half what it was just in March. And so that's good news. The big problem, though, is it's still in the millions. We now have 39 million people who have applied for unemployment insurance over the last 9 weeks. It took the Great Recession, I think, over 80 weeks to get to those levels. So we have a long way to go. And the other factor to consider is how fast will they get their jobs back once COVID-19 is gone.
Beth Ann, I think some comments this week from Fed President James Bullard may have rattled some investors. He said, "We are at peak crisis now." I think a lot of people in the market thought we were in peak crisis in April. Do you think May is peak crisis?
In terms of the economy, well, think about it. What we're seeing is we have basically many more workers now on the dole, I guess you could say, with, as I mentioned, the significant numbers that are there. And the worry, of course, is businesses. The hopeful news was that once COVID-19 leaves the stage, that you would see businesses open up and they would bring back those workers. Those workers would return. There was incentives put into place with the Paycheck Protection Program. But first, the question is, will businesses survive this ordeal? And I think maybe that's what President Bullard was getting at. And second, if they do survive, will they have the wherewithal and the capacity to be able to bring those workers back? We expect that the unemployment rates will not reach pre-crisis levels until sometime in 2023. So that to me means the crisis is still ongoing.
So given all that, Beth Ann, do you think that investors need to brace for even a bigger shock? Are we going to see another return to the lows for this stock market, do you think, or is it just going to be a bumpy road, but we're not going to make new lows?
Well, I can't really speak on stocks because I don't cover that area, but I have to say I'm a bit more nervous, and so often I say when I'm nervous, maybe you should be too.
Do you think that stimulus is more important? Another stimulus package from Congress is more important to investors at this point than movement on a vaccine?
I think they're both equally important. The vaccine means if indeed we do have a vaccine, and if it does say come into play, that means COVID-19 will not be a story 5 years from now. And that is a huge relief to many people. But the other point is that the vaccine, if it indeed, at least according to health professionals, is that a vaccine, even if we start to get close to one, it's going to take at least a year, maybe even 2 years to be able to have it up and running to inoculate our citizens worldwide. So that's still a long ways away. I think the stimulus that's being discussed here, I think is in a sense the bridge that will help the United States, our citizens, get to the other side, both our citizens and our businesses get to the other side. So, and I'm glad to see that at least the government is talking about that again.
We are too. All right, Beth Ann Bovino, U.S. Chief Economist at S&P Global. Great to see you. We'll see you soon.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.